Welcome to the CookUp, and we have a very delicious meal for you today. And you know, where there's food, there's going to be conversation. And we want you to be part of the conversation, and you can do that by messaging us, sending us a comment, giving us a like on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are at SKNICH or at ICHSKN. On YouTube, we are at St. Kitts Culture. On Twitter, St. Kitts Culture. And on our new Instagram, we are Cultural Heritage SKN. My name is Alicia Daniel Blake, and I have an assistant chef with me here in the CookUp kitchen today. And he is going to be included, what he does will be included in at least 3 of the ICH domains. For his work in Calypso, he would fall under the domains of the performing arts and oral traditions and expressions. And his work in Carnival would fall under social practices, rituals, and festive events. Have you guessed who he is as yet? Well, let's get right into it because we have a lot to talk about. So I would like to welcome someone who we know as Monarch, but his official name is Clement Monarch, and he is currently the director of Carnival. Yes. Welcome to the CookUp.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for having me here today. Don't know about the cooking part of it.
Well, we are going to show you what you can do.
There you go.
Okay.
Once it takes less than 15 minutes.
Yes, we are certainly going to teach you how to cook. We have a clip from what we can safely call an international hit from your Calypso, Salt Fish Tongue. Let's have a look at it, CookUp connoisseurs.
You does always find a saltfish a bone. How come you don't find a tongue in your own? When everything on earth the master put down from its very birth, bound to have a tongue. The commodity so hard to get. All them saltfish vendors like even they making a jail with a still piece of saltfish tail, and everywhere you pass them old saltfish mound. They have a kind of weakness for getting down. All kind of fanatics to be found. Hide their tongue and don't make a sound. People of fortune, fame and renown.
Now, Monarch, you have a sweet singing voice. You know who you remind me of? Sugar Aloe. Yes. Now, how did you come up with the concept for that Calypso?
Actually, this was back in the 80s, so I'm sure a lot of the young ones who are listening to the show now probably wouldn't have even known that song. But back then, Trinidad, as it was the mecca of Calypso, so everybody wanted to go there. Prior to that, I went to New York. I got hooked up with a small producer. They sent me to Trinidad, and the people in Trinidad who were my handlers, they knew everybody in the Calypso business. And so I actually spoke to Winsford Devines, who wrote a ton of Calypso. Everything that you can think about, especially some of the ones that Mighty Sparrow had sung. And he came up with the concept, and we worked it until we brought it to where it was.
Lovely. So, when you started rehearsing it, did you think instantly that it would be a hit?
Yes, even before we rehearsed it in the studio, rehearsed it with the musicians. Yes, I definitely knew at that point that, hey, this is something that can work. But being a small Calypsonian from St. Kitts, you don't know. The song may be good, but does it, go to the outer world? Do they accept it? And so they did. We released it on a major label in New York, Bees, and they had all the contacts that you needed. Yeah. And so, the radio stations were playing it, everybody was playing it, and I didn't really make any money from the records itself, but the song was popular, so people want the popular songs to perform on their concerts. So there's where it chipped in. But I'm grateful for the folks who worked on it. As I said, B's Record in New York, who took it once they heard the song. You know, they were like, do not play it for anybody else. Because there were two major soca producers in New York at the time. So yeah, it turned out pretty well, and I'm happy and satisfied.
So what's your most memorable moment with that song?
Oh, that's interesting.
Was it a performance in a particular place?
Well, yes, there was a performance. I actually worked international for a couple of years, and in the Philippines, I was there for about 3 years, and the company that I was working with, they had a quarterly celebration of their top representatives, and so it was a party. I got to sing it there, and it was very interesting because they don't know nothing about a calypso. So it was very interesting. That, and the other thing as well is when the song was released, it spent 5 weeks on the WLIB charts. WLIB was a Caribbean radio station in New York. Spent 5 weeks on the chart, a chart of 10. So it's not easy to get in, and it's not just soca music. It was all genres of Caribbean music that were on the charts. So that was a special moment as well for it to be included on the charts. And then after that, on the B's all-time hits. That's the record label B's. They had an all-time hits, and so people like Shadow and all those guys were on there. And there was a compilation from Canada as well that included Saltfish Tongue. So that was so there were quite a few special moments on it. American Airlines from New York to Puerto Rico used to have a Caribbean music segment, and that was one of them.
Lovely. So it was definitely a hit. But how did you get into Calypso?
In 1973, September of 1973, I went to the junior high school. The Bastia Junior High School is where CFB is now. That's where it was. I went to the Burden Street campus. There was the Park Range campus. Just before the summer before I went to school there, they had a school calypso competition. When I got there, I ended up being friends with people like Cut and Sheikah and Errol and some of these other guys. And I knew that I could sing because I came out of the church. I used to sing at the Olivet Gospel Hall, Trinity Anglican Church. So I decided I was going to throw my hat in the ring.
So did you make history there then? Because you're talking about Junior Calypso. I think you made some sort of history. Tell us.
Junior Calypso. Well, that first year I was nervous as heck, and so I didn't make it to the finals. But after that, it was like, nah, that's not me. I know how to do what I'm doing. And so my Junior Calypso career spanned from 74 to 79, I think. And during that time, I was first runner-up twice, and I won the Junior Calypso competition 4 times. The last 3 were 3 in a row, and that was the first time in the history of St. Kitts that any Calypsonian, big or small, had done a 3 in a row. All the 3 in a rows came after me.
So you did it before Element?
Yes, before every other Calypsonian. I did a 3, yes.
Right,
3 in a row.
3-peat. Now, do you still write?
Every now and then.
Okay.
Every now and then I've done writing for some junior Calypsonians. I've written for bands as well. But not as much as I would like to, because I'm occupied in so many other ways.
Or which we are going to get right into in our next segment. So CookUp connoisseurs, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it, Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
That we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
Welcome back, CookUp connoisseurs, and we do still have with us Monarch, officially called Clement Monarch, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit more about now Carnival. But first, let's have a look at this clip from Good Morning SKN when one of the hosts, Jamie Morris, specifically asked Monarch if he was hopeful about the future of Calypso, because you know that is what we deal with at Culture Preservation. And this was what he had to say.
And there was a lot of guys singing. The issue that I see, not very many are crossing over. At 18, you have to stop singing junior Calypso. And then you can go into the senior Calypso competition. Over the last couple of years, not very many people came through. When I was singing in the junior Calypso competition, that's what we were aiming for. I even went early. I went when I was 17 years old because they didn't prevent you from being too young. But I mean, nowadays you don't see that. So I think that's one of the areas that we probably need to look at to get that transition for people to start replacing the Star Shields and the Socrates and the Jackies and all those people, because, you know, the future is right there. And there was a lot of...
So, Monarch, this was 2 years ago. So, in your opinion, is it still the same now in terms of the juniors going over to the seniors?
Listen, last year was very encouraging. Sugar Mass 52. We had 19 junior Calypsonians. As a result, that's for National Carnival, the National Carnival Junior Calypso Show. As a result of that, and not really intending to eliminate anybody, because that would have been the normal process back in the day where you have an elimination and you pick 8 people for the finals. What we did as a Carnival committee was we went back to something that was done during Noah Mills's chairmanship of Carnival, where we had a secondary and a primary category. So we were able to separate the 5-year-old, 5 to 12, I think, and then 13 or 12 to 18 for the secondary. And we had a great show at the Marriott. Recently, of course, a couple of the folks who have actually gone from juniors to seniors, most of them I would say are from Nevis. Okay. You have Invincible, who did that. As a matter of fact, he is the winningest junior Calypso monarch in the Federation. Oh. And then there are a couple other people from Nevis as well. But we have Queen Independent, who is what, a 3-time Calypso monarch right now. She came from the juniors.
Oh, she did?
As well. So there is some transition, not enough, because a lot of people are now, I guess, going into soca. I mentioned somebody like a Jeezy Sparta, though he still sings Calypso sparingly. He came from the juniors and he also sang in the seniors, but seems to be concentrating a lot more on soca right now, which is fine.
So would you say there's hope for the art form? That's the crux of the matter. Because you mentioned, well, you know, soca is like a cousin. But what about the Calypso?
Well, for Calypso, I would definitely say there is hope. One of the things that I think is affecting it now here in St. Kitts, because in other places as well there's issues. I mean, you talk about a place like Trinidad, the Mecca of Calypso, and back in the day, on the night of Dimanche Gras, when they had the Calypso Monarch finals, I mean, you had the North Stand and the Grandstand packed with people. Now they're only using one stand. Machel gave it a jolt, I think, last year. And I was at the semifinals in San Fernando, Calypso Fiesta, and it was packed. He brought back out a lot of people.
Okay, good.
But locally, I think one of the things that's affecting us is, unlike when I was a junior growing up, we were being taught to write. So we were always proud of writing our own calypso. I mean, I was shocked out of my life when I eventually sang a calypso that was written by someone else. And this was like, what, more than 10 years after I actually started.
Okay.
Everything before that, I wrote myself. So I think that that's one of our issues here in St. Kitts. I don't think we have a lot of good calypso writers. There are some of them. And writing is fundamental. I mean, you know, you want to turn something that it's unexpected into a song that people could say, what? How did he come up with that line? Or how did she come up with that line? I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I saw a guy sang a song in the semifinals in Trinidad, and then he was singing about Stone. And everybody was like, okay, so Stone, and I'm listening, and he tell you how the stone represents so many different facets in our life.
I like
because
that.
Of the strongness of the stone.
So in other words, you should be able to sing a calypso on anything.
Absolutely.
Anything, okay.
Absolutely.
All right, lovely. So now, you are the chairman who coined the term sugar mass. As currently as the director of Carnival, you are also in a unique position to possibly stimulate that same writing that you are talking about. And you can, you know, collaborate with whoever that might be. Have you given something like that any thought?
Oh, absolutely. The issue, of course, with Carnival is money. I mean, we would like to do a lot more, you know, so we're encouraging our corporate sponsors to join us, come on board, help us to assist in so many different facets, because we talk about Calypso, but as you know, Carnival in general, we're talking about the development of Pan as well. They're doing a really good job in Nevis, and you know, we're happy that they do. But here in St. Kitts, we need to get that you know, interest back again in certain areas. So for instance, in the schools, because back then, even though I don't really think the Junior Calypso competition was a schools competition per se, but we had people from the different schools that actually went in the competition. So I think that's the place to start.
Yes, and you know, something that would stimulate something like that is if maybe you get an IREP sort of competition going between the schools for that. And one last question for this segment. Any discussion on maybe having elements of Carnival throughout the year, maybe for the tourists?
Oh, absolutely. From what we did last year, I think last year was very impressive as it relates to the marketing of Carnival. Not where we envisage it to be at this time, but it's a work in progress. And in order for us to satisfy patrons who want to come to St. Kitts for Carnival, and also the folks who live here in St. Kitts as well, we have to continuously be doing stuff throughout the year. As you can tell, we're drawing back the release deadlines for things like Clement Monarch and Calypso. As a matter of fact, today and tomorrow are two significant days. Soca artists have to turn their songs in today, Road March tomorrow. That's the deadline.
Lovely. Now we're going to pause.
Have music.
We need to make a pause right there. We need to take a short break. We'll be right back, CookUp connoisseurs.
Health-wise on Zariza TV, Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Hosted by Dr. Malik Lescott, Dr. Jolette Woodley, and Dr. Patrice Lawrence.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to the Sankis Craft House. This is where life begins, and what we create will leave you speechless. We train, we create, we promote, and we maintain the highest standards. Experience life for yourself. The premier craft and production facility in St. Kitts and Nevis.
I hope you're ready for what's coming now. I'm the one on the lady that will bring you down.
Welcome back, CookUp connoisseurs. We have with us Monarch. Now, Monarch, you have done so much for Calypso, you have done so much for Carnival, and you continue to be a Carnival activist. Several years ago, you received a little token of appreciation from Queenie G. I think it was Valentine's, that she presented several persons who had made contributions to the Calypso arena. She identified you. How did you feel at that moment in time?
Well, I mean, it's always good to be recognized, but I mean, I don't do these things for recognition, but I know, recognition comes along with it as well. And the National Carnival Committee knows that for a fact. I was involved for the 50th anniversary of Carnival. Unfortunately, the show didn't come off at that time, but we now have the Sugar Mass Awards.
Nice.
It's coming off on the 17th of November, and we are awarding over 40 recipients in various categories for their contributions to culture, carnival in St. Kitts, or National Carnival, that is. And yeah, it's interesting. I've seen the list of folks who are going to be honored. And so, yes, I think that it's very important.
That's great to know. And
this is our third annual anyway.
Third
so
one.
Yes.
Nice.
We've honored over almost 200 people so far.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. So then, would you describe yourself as a mentor? And if so, who are you passing on all of this planning and organizing and writing Calypso onto?
A mentor, huh? That's kind of, tough decision. But listen, I think I do what I have to do. The National Carnival Committee, National Carnival Executive has some young folks who've just come on board over the last couple of years. One for sure has to be getting the notoriety now. Our chairman of Panorama, Mr. Cartel Ford, who just in his young 20s. And so, I have a lot of conversations with him. He's seconded to our office, the Carnival office, that is, for the next 2 months. Same thing last year. So our Clement Monarch chair as well, Asquith Watson, it's another young guy as well who these are people who are now starting out, and I'm encouraged to see their age. Our current chairperson, Shannon Harley, if I'm not mistaken, she was the youngest chairperson.
Yes.
Back in 2011.
Female. Yes.
And the first female. So the diversity is evident, and yes, I hope that they'd listen. But I'm willing to pass my knowledge, information, and in the meantime, yes, it's a back and forth. So these are young folks who can teach me a thing or two as well.
Yes,
so,
the exchange of information, lovely.
Yes.
And so would you say Carnival is a critical part of our element in our culture?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a festival that brought in 11,000 people to St. Kitts, Nevis last year during our carnival period. So it's very, very significant. I can tell you that the carnival cost is in the millions. 99% of that goes to locals.
Lovely.
Local entrepreneurs.
So quickly, stick this one in there quickly. Is there still room for folklore performers? Because remember, initially the culture had the Christmas sports. That's what they used to be referred to.
Correct.
Is there room for them still?
Absolutely. There's room for everyone at the table. That's a critical part of, critical element of our culture. And so yes, we definitely cannot leave them out. So we're talking about pan and masquerades and all that good stuff. There are people, I mean, you see people come out to see the competition when it's held during our carnival.
Lovely. We are so happy to hear that, because we are all about preserving the culture. CookUp connoisseurs, we'll ask Monarch to give us a little moment while we update on the seasoning mix. Now, pot was bubbling just now. Did you see it? And we have to add some more seasoning. So, griot. It is our storytelling event that is happening at the Shadwell Great House, starting at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. Now, we are watching that weather closely, but yes, it is still on for Saturday at 6:30 p.m. So we want everybody to come on out. And it's a family event. It's also free, and vendors will be on the ground. So you need to make sure that you walk with something to spread out and sit down on, maybe a blanket if you think you're going to feel chilly, and your cash to support those vendors. And those persons who are driving, we ask that you park outside the premises of the Shadwell Great House. So see you there on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. The featured on the grill, or featured on the grill, we have Leonard Stapleton, who is going to be giving us the historical stories, and we will be hearing about the Buckley's uprising. We also have Lachlan Tatum, and he is going to be giving us the Jumbie stories. And that is something that we remember as children, because, you know, that had to be the last set of stories, because, you know, you're almost too scared to go to sleep that night. And Keisha Isaac Adams, she's going to be giving us the children's stories. We also have performances by Royd Phipps. We know that he's our drummer. And we also have Alistair Phipps, who will be giving us a performance as well. Our next event is Swank. Now, we went on 4th Street and we asked persons, what is Swank? Most persons knew. And we have posted these on our Instagram page. Do you remember what I said? You can find, where I said you can find it? It is at Cultural Heritage SKN. And Swank, we have got our entrance coming in. So, Ogaro, we are working with us on this, and we'll have some for you to ask your judges to judge for us. Okay, and then we also have the ICH camp. We are inviting parents. Please remember, fill in those registration forms. They're available at the school for the children. And Folklore Galore, we are inviting the cultural performers to fill out the registration forms. Come see us. We are in the building behind the parking lot at the Victoria Road Preschool. Come check us out. So, Ogaro, we give you the last word. Last word. Any advice?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show today. And as we're in this season of Carnival, just a couple of notes. We talked about Calypso and the preservation of Calypso. This year we have 13 junior Calypsonians registered, and they're about to start getting the work in. The show is on the 15th of December at the Marriott, where it was last year. And so we're going to have both categories again, secondary and preliminary. But on a whole, I think culture is in a developing place in St. Kitts and Nevis. I think there's a lot more for us to do still. What we do have to understand, though, is that it costs money to get to where we want to go.
All right. So that's a plea out there to the sponsors. And CookUp connoisseurs, remember how we end our show. We always say, together we can safeguard our living heritage. See you next time.